Everyone, this is Nikachu, and I am here with Death and Taxes master, Jason the Splicer Simard, and we are going to go over a history of Death and Taxes and a very detailed deck tech into Death and Taxes. We're going to figure out how all these cards work. The genius is right here, the innovator, the person who pushed the deck to where it is today, Jason the Splicer Simard. And if that's what you're in for, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to find more Death and Taxes content on this channel. Alright, so thanks for coming on the channel, Jason.
No problem. Nice to be here.
Excellent. So, tell us about the history of this deck. Oh, by the way, maybe before we get too far, we should talk about your results. You're obviously no scrub to this deck.
Well, very recently I did very well in the modern challenges. I played in at the beginning of the year, so it was a obviously different environment then. We were just seeing the beginnings of humans and Hollow One. Like I played them a bit in those tournaments, and maybe got a little lucky, but they were like not the prevalent forces that they are now.
So like this is a guy who just went back to back.
I skipped 1 week. Like these are the only two I played in.
Yeah, but, unfortunately, he skipped 1 week. Otherwise, he might have gotten like first place a third time. So what came first? You got
first the first one.
First the first one,
and it was Ray. Ray was with me. Ray the Ripper.
Ray the Card Ripper was around, and he.
We did both the tournaments together there, and yeah, you know.
So first place in one modern challenge, followed by a second place in another one. And you also made the top 8 of the same Grand Prix I made top 8.
That's right.
Yeah, Grand Prix Vancouver with Death and Taxes. Death and Taxes.
Yeah.
And a signature of your list is you're not playing with Aether Vial.
That's right. Yeah, I used to many years ago. That's when we'll go into the history in a little bit later in the video.
Oh yeah.
But I've decided to cut them because of consistency. Like you want to. Just be coming out with threats every turn with Death and Taxes, like threats and lands. And your lands, you try to get as many that can be like spells as you can in there. We got the Ghost Quarters, Mutavaults, Windbrisk Heights, Eldrazi Temples help speed things out. So you try to make it so that not too many of your cards are blanks, really. And Aether Vial definitely can be at times. Like obviously, there's games where it's insane. It's insane, and like even Ray's like, you just hate Aether Vial. You hate Aether Vial. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? I would never take Aether Vial out of humans. Like, if I were to play humans, I would never take Aether Vial out. They've got so many good 1-drops and 2-drops and then some 3-drops. That's, like, where you want to be with Aether Vial. Or, like, with Merfolk.
Sure.
Like, you're almost all, like, 80% 2-drops. Right? Or something like it. Well over 60, I'm sure. And so, like, you can just plunk that thing at 2 and it could sit there and plop them out. You don't have to rely on going up the curve and then you draw cards where you're like, oh, now I'm below my curve again.
Right.
Like, or now I've drawn my 1-4-drop. Do I bring it up and never use it again, or do I, like you're in that situation a lot. I was in that situation a lot when I played this deck back in the 2012, 2013.
Yeah, so show us how it all started.
Yeah,
so what was Death and Taxes in the first place?
Right there. Okay, so first thing to note about Death and Taxes is that it's a port deck from Legacy. Like people who pushed the deck at first and created it, like they wanted to make a deck like their Legacy deck. So it's they weren't like as keen on making a cohesive strategy that was good for modern as making a fun deck that sort of, they were trying to win, don't get me wrong, but it's not necessarily their primary deck design idea, right? So when I first started, this was a pretty standard deck. I think the list that I started with, it's in the original Death and Taxes primer. You'd have to find the archived one on
MTG Salvation.
Yeah, MTG Salvation, excuse me. And this is about 2011, near the end of the year. You see the 4 Ghost Quarters, 4 Tech Edges, and 15 lands. So 23 lands with 4 Aether Vials as your mana base. 4 Path to Exiles is your only other spells. And then Aven Mind Sensors were really big at the time. Aethersworn Canonist was a 4 of in this deck.
Right.
Flicker Wisp, obviously a marquee card. The Arbiters, important to go with, the paths and the Ghost Quarters as well as affecting your opponent on their own. 4 Mangara of Corondor because they're in the Legacy deck. Right. 3 Sarah's Avengers, cheat them out with the vials, good flyer. 3 Stonecloakers, which I immediately found to be too many of those guys. They are, they have an impact on the graveyard. They have flash.
We can see these cards. Sweet. Okay.
Yeah, they have flash. They can he can save a creature or get back like Mangara with his ability on the stack, or so he's got some moves, but there's a lot of times where you just don't have a creature out to return, and he kind of, or you don't have an advantageous one to do, and so you play an Arbiter second turn.
Right.
Stonecloaker, right? And then and 4 Student of Warfare as your 1-drops to round out the deck. So within my first few weeks of practicing with it, so like when I started playing this deck, it had never won a big tournament. It didn't do anything, yeah. I mean, it was around. It could do okay in tournaments. I'd seen some other guys playing it in my local gaming store, probably because of this very thread itself. Once I started practicing with it, immediately I was finding the Student of Warfare to be just subpar. You'd have to invest so much mana into them. You have 8 colorless lands, so you don't even have the double white always.
Yeah.
But to spend your second turn pumping them into something useful, 3/3 first strike, which is actually, that's actually decent, but it just dies to the bolt. And
Bolt's still around in Modern at that time.
At that time, yes. And I mean, there was just good removal, and it would just get sidelined so fast in so many different games. Modern at this time, actually, I guess we'd say it was like Splinter Twin was huge. I think Birthing Pod was big or getting big.
Yeah, we have to go back to the time of 2012.
Jund was huge with Deathrite Shamans, Bloodbraid Elves.
That's right. Oh, wow. Full-fledged Jund back then. Twin, Birthing Pod. Well, I mean, Affinity, I guess, never gained anything.
No, but Affinity was a very strong deck then. In fact, Affinity is one of the decks that really forced me to change this deck. Like, I was just losing every game to Affinity, and
don't we all?
And I just don't like to lose every game to any kind of deck like that you just know that the spikes are coming out with.
Right,
you got to be able to at least have a good chance. And even in the thread, some guys are like, well, don't you have Katakis in your board and stuff? And it's like, well, I don't want to rely on one sideboard card to have a decent chance at winning, and that isn't even a slam dunk itself, right? So immediately just trying to find some cards that really didn't work well in the environment, and we found the Student of Warfare and the Mangara of Corondor in particular were just too weak. Like Corondor, sometimes he would work, but when people are just Splinter Twinning you or infinite comboing you, tapping out to play a guy with Summoning Sickness, or even if you vial him in at the end of the turn, there's a lot of games where that's not going to be enough. It's easy to kill. In Legacy, people only play so much removal. Mm-hmm. In Modern, people play 8 to 12 removal spells, not 4 to 8.
Right.
In general. So it just made him too weak, and you don't have Caracas, which is insane with him. Clearly, even block bounce him is good enough almost in some situations, let alone his ability. So he had to go. And there was a lot of, if you read through this forum, there's a lot of resistance to some of these ideas because these were well-liked cards, But
okay, so
sorry.
Yeah, so you changed everything. So this is your first
this was
proposed idea for the new Death and Taxes.
Yeah, about 2 months after that list, here, February 24th, 2012, I was working on this version. I still played Aether Vials, in Vancouver and in those Modern challenges, I dropped Aether Vials, but I played these things for years, and I often even in discussions on Reddit, hey, you should try Aether Vial. And it's
it's been done.
I did play it for quite some time. It's just a big thing is okay, the example of when you get Thought Seized. If you've got 2 lands, 1 Aether Vial, and 3 threats, your opponent can decide whether to try to hobble your mana the way you unfold the game, or one of your end games, the threats. Even in hands where you're thinner with threats, they for sure take the threat. Or if you have 1 land, 1 Aether Vial, this is one I remember in a PTQ. It's 1 land, 1 Aether Vial, 5 awesome threats. I've got this game. First turn Thought Seize you, it's gone. Or Thought Seize you, see I don't have another land, and Abrupt Decay it. Just all these situations.
And your deck is more vulnerable to this because your curve is higher.
Yes,
in general.
That's right.
One landers, if it's turned into a one, if they Thought Seize you into a 1-land hand, it's very hard to recover.
Right. Whereas humans,
they could play. We have so many more 2-drops.
Yeah, and even 1-drops in
one more land and we're online.
Right. Whereas you need to get to that 3rd land almost. So. Yeah, and so now in this tournament too, and this is the first appearance of Blade Splicer in one of these decks. The Blade Splicer is who I found would be better for Mangara's spot, because he has impact immediately, and he actually puts people in a bad position with the removal. Do I want to kill this token, or do I want to the actual card is worse than the token it makes, so it's
right.
It puts them in a bad situation. Especially against decks like Jund, where it's if they even play a Bloodbraid into a removal, it's which one do I even kill? Because if I next turn play a Flicker Wisp and rebounce that Blade Splicer, that's really devastating. So, yeah, and there's a little resistance to Blade Splicer at first too. A lot of these changes, like people don't like change. They want to have their deck like their legacy deck, and like in this conversation I have here, I talk about how it's like I wanted to make the deck more aggressive, like finish out the games faster. I changed up the tectonic edges for Mutavaults because at that time, like the tech edges, like they've already played their Bloodbraid by the time you can tech edge them. They've had the opportunity to play Splinter Twin by the time you do that.
Yeah.
Birthing Pod's been going for a while by the time you could tech edge somebody. So it's like. Like obviously against a deck like Valakut, you're a little weaker if you don't like those tech edges. When I played them, I actually destroyed Valakut. Now,
yeah, of course.
My current version, it's 50-50ish. Like it's if they got a better draw, they're going to kill me. If I got a better draw, I'll probably kill them. So, like these are the choices you have to make, though. Like you give up a little against one deck to do well against the field, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah, of course. So you made it more aggressive.
Yeah, and like
you added the Blade Splicers.
Yeah, the Mutavaults and the Windbriskites, and I mean like Windbriskites.
Oh, Windbriskites, yeah.
Like the thing is too, like back then, people think that. Well, now it is like a third turn format, but Modern was really like a fourth turn format. Like you felt like you had to do something turn one, but you don't really need to. Like even in your deck, like like you don't always even run the Curse Catchers or one drop.
Oh,
right?
I've dumped Curse Catcher now. It's
right.
over.
So it's like all you have is Aether Vial to lead.
Yeah.
Right. Like and your deck's not suffering that bad because of it. It's because like it's actually the 2-drops that are like the most important. Lots of the people's good 1-drops until very recently weren't nearly as powerful. But I mean now when you're playing like draw 3 cards, discard 3 cards at random, and then 2 hollow ones, it's like like we are maybe in a point where maybe Windbriskites might be getting a little costly to play. Like so, but yeah, giving up your first turn to put it comes into play tap land isn't that costly in a deck like this, especially like not when you play a first turn Aether Vial, then a second turn Windbriskites, and you're still able to make your moves off the Aether Vials, like another good situation for you. Like with the Aether Vials, I found that it was easy to play with Windbriskites actually. It's a little tougher these days, that's for sure.
Okay, so this is where Jason, the Splicer Simard, proposed Blade Splicer. And were you also the first to propose Windbriskites, or was that a card that was already floating around?
It's been talked, but the thing is, they didn't have it with Blade Splicers and Mutavaults. Like, there's so many hands.
So it was way harder to activate back then.
Right. Like, yeah, like when you're playing a Mangara on your third turn, like, are you going to be activating Windbriskites?
Right.
Like now, and like, this is before Restoration Angel existed. This is actually before even Thalia existed. I believe Thalia comes in about a couple months.
The new Thalia?
Yeah, sorry, she's a 2-of. She was just brand new. She was a brand new card, excuse me. Yeah, like, she wasn't there at the very beginning of Death and Taxes, actually. But, by this point, she was in the deck, but only as a 2-of. Like, we didn't realize, like, how powerful that is, right?
So, and this list somehow got published by Mike Flores?
Yeah, like, back then, we used to have a whole season of Modern PTQs.
Yeah.
So this was at the very end of the season. He did, Mike Flores did an article about just a bunch of various, like, original-ish lists and stuff. And, this was, I got second place in the PTQ for Spain, actually. And it was a very close match. It was close. But, he couldn't do it. But my deck got published in 2012. And then, as you see here, like, from this point on, this is a little more, like, closer to what people play for Death and Taxes. Like, there is no more Mangara. There is no more that little 1/1 guy. Yeah, like, not everybody adopted all these changes that I made, but certainly everybody adopted getting rid of some of the stuff that we cut out of the deck because they just wasn't good enough.
All right, great. So let's go even deeper into your card choices, how everything works. What is going on here? We have Eldrazi now in this deck.
Yeah, well, once the Eldrazi came, like, I remember even commenting with my buddies that it's like, I feel like it's gone from, like, a deck you have to really play real hard to get a 3/1 out of, and, like, you know, often it's more of a 50-50 deck, really, to, like, having the pieces to make, like, I could 4-0 with this deck, 5-0 with this deck,
right.
You know, like, bringing in, well, I liked Blinding Spirit, Selfless Spirit, excuse me.
Right.
I'd played him in Vancouver, and, but that was, like, at the beginning of, all these Death Shadows decks, right? Like, so there was, all of a sudden there was, like, so much more 1-for-1 removal. Like, so, yeah, but the introduction of Selfless Spirit and Thought-Knot Seers and Eldrazi Displacers with the Temples, like, really upped the curve and the power toughness in the deck. Like, it made it way less, like, Anger of the Gods all of a sudden. I've got 3 Thought-Knots, 4 Restos, like, 4 Wall of Omens.
Right.
Wall of Omens came in about 2013, and it was 2014. If you keep going through that thread, you'd see that, but
sure.
We're not going to talk about that all day, right? So, like, now all of a sudden it's like we're slightly taxing deck with only, like, arbiters, thalias. Like humans actually taxes people harder than my
course,
deck
yeah.
actually. So it's like this is more like a value townish kind of deck. Like the comes into play abilities are important, and that's what we're playing off with the Flicker Wisps, the Restos, and the Eldrazi Displacers with enough disruption with Arbiter, Thalia, and Thought-Knots to inhibit their game plan.
So, like, Eldrazi Displacer, obviously, really good card in this deck because there are a lot of enter the battlefield effects. I mean...
Yeah, and the way he controls other decks, too. Like, it's very hard to make combat profitable with him out. Like,
Absolutely, yeah.
Especially with a deck like this, where it's like, I could block your guy and blink my guy.
Yeah.
And get an advantage, actually, or, like, stop your flyer from hitting me.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so now lately, like this is when Death Shadow became really huge, we'd actually taken out the Selfless Spirits and we put in Thraben Inspectors into the 1-drop slot.
Yeah. And
they were actually excellent for a while, especially with Jund. Like just so many with the Wall of
I
Omens.
still see it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and they're in other decks, and it's still an excellent card. But the way things are going right now, when people are dropping such big creatures so fast, and especially along the ground. We're going into experimental territory here.
Okay.
We're rolling with some Loyal Sentries.
Loyal Sentry, so...
Like, this is...
this
this makes me like, yeah. Like, I'm sure people have laughed at me when I've dropped this just last night when I was testing it. But at the same time, people have been playing bad around it. Like, the thing is, first of all, so when they attack you, you block. Both these creatures are destroyed. Your Sentry. It's like a mini Mangara.
Yeah.
Right? So
that's basically what it is.
It's a modern Mangara because it's one to cast, so that's actually playable.
Yeah, 1 white, when Loyal Sentry blocks a creature, destroy that creature and Loyal Sentry.
Right, so now the thing is though that this ability uses the stack. So if you've got a Displacer out or you've got a Resto in hand, like I mean, so far, like, you come up against Jund, and at first he looks so bad because he's just sitting there, and then all of a sudden they're sitting there with their Tarmogoyf, and like they got to attack. Like, what are they gonna do? They gotta take the hit one day. Like, they might have removal for it, but then they're spending the removal on your 1-drop, not your 4-drop, or they don't have it for your Thought-Knot. Then when you come down over the top, like to get in early damage. And the thing is, actually, the Sentry, like, he can actually even help against like Primeval Titan, Amulet Titan. He's going to destroy it when it attacks. The trample's not going to hit you. Like, so it actually, like...
That's a great point. Great point.
Like, it looks goofy. In some games, it's very pathetic.
The damage step doesn't happen.
Right, so it's like, because, it's immediate.
Super First Strike, Death Touch. It's like Death Touch with First Strike. Yeah.
Something, right? But also, it's like damage on the stack, too, because...
Yeah, we're going back to, like, 2006 or something.
Jeez, yeah.
So and then you can blink it with Restoration Angel, Eldrazi Displacer.
Occasionally Flicker Wisp, but not
occasionally. Well, I guess you have to work.
Not for mine. Not with my deck.
Restoration Angel, your Flicker Wisp, and then blink the Loyal Sentry.
If these other guys who were playing Death and Taxes decide to adopt it, they could use their Flicker Wisp with their Aether Vials.
Yeah.
It would actually be pretty cool with Aether Vial too. Just one drop comes out when you attack me, like.
Oh, they would never see it coming. That's the worst that can happen.
You know what? So far, they haven't seen it coming even when it's been in play, though.
Of course.
It's been so terrible. Like, I had one guy attack in, and he didn't attack the first turn with his, I can't remember what creature, the 2/2 trample. He gets +2/+2 if you have 4 different card types in your graveyard.
Grimflare. Oh, Grimflare, yeah.
Yeah, he attacks with his Grimflare. I'm like, block the Loyals. Like, he didn't attack the first time with it. I'm all on tap now. He attacks with it, and I'm block and play Resto, blink my guy. So then it's like, now we gotta actually spend a removal on that thing, and it's already on the stack, so it's like killing this guy.
Yeah, it's too late. Okay, so Loyal Sentry, you're playing with the 4 Eldrazi Temple.
That's
because
right.
we have Eldrazi's.
I only played 3.
And the activation.
I played 3 of them in Vancouver, and I only played 2 Displacers. But, like, Displacer wasn't nearly as good then. Like, lately it's just been, like, you can get the Displacer out against even Hollow One and, like, block with my guy, blink him, blink another guy if you've got Temples out, Like, you can do so much to control the board, and they only have so much removal, so it's like... Or humans. Like,
well, they only have so much effective removal. I mean, they've got, like, Collective Brutality.
Right, which doesn't get them...
Yeah, it doesn't touch a ton of these cards.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like people think, like if you were deciding on Kozilek's Return, is that the card? The 2 deal 2 damage?
Yeah, 2
like
speed.
Like it doesn't kill that many of the creatures. Like one of my big philosophies with this deck is you can't have that much low toughness creatures in a deck like this because people are going to be siding in Anger the Gods. Like that's why the Wall of Omens actually is like innocuous, but it's so good. Like so many board states that you can set up with the wall that they just can't get rid of it. And then when you play a Resto, you're just drawing another card.
And I guess late game you just draw tons of cards off of Eldrazi Displacer.
But usually, if you're in that kind of control, you don't end up doing it. Like, you just tap both their guys and attack. Like, modern, everyone's life total gets so low. But it is possible, and sometimes it does happen. It's more like, usually it's like when it's going good like that, you're getting one extra card a turn while playing more stuff to get ahead, you know?
I guess so.
But,
So, Ghost Quarter, of course, goes with Leon Arbiter. Is there anything special to say about Ghost Quarter? Any neat tech? Or is it always a 4 of?
Yeah, you know what? It's that good. Like, there's some decks that you don't even need the Arbiter out. Like, I went to GP Toronto actually, and I went 10-5, 10 wins, 5 losses. But I wasn't too practiced. I made a few mistakes in some matches, unfortunately.
You also forgot your deck.
Yeah, that was. I left my deck at home. Somebody had to bring it for me. It was a real.
Ray the Card Ripper came in for the rescue.
That's right. Yeah, that's the classic Jason move.
For the team, I gotta travel all the way to Vancouver. No, it was Toronto. Toronto. Yeah, I gotta fly all the way to send you your deck.
So, but yeah, there was one hand where I'd mulled against 5-color Shadow. I mulled into 6 land, 2 of them Ghost Quarters. I just kept and just he went for first turn, I think, Inquisition. And it's like, here, look at that. Yeah. No, I got nothing. And then just Ghost Quarter your land. He goes and gets a swamp. He doesn't play another land on top. He just Ghost Quarter his swamp. And he got a little, he wasn't too happy about that one. But.
Sure. Yeah, they're playing like 2 to 3 basics.
The 5-color one only plays 1 usually.
1?
Yes, it's only a swamp. The Grixis always has the island and the swamp, but the 5-color, it's like, I can't even believe it's how greedy that is. But even like humans too, it's like if you see they have their planes, you just rip on their lands. Like,
oh yeah, the planes that they don't have, that's their only basic
their only
land.
One, yeah. Like, I wouldn't mind trying to squeeze even a Field of Ruin or 2 in, especially for decks like that, or even Affinity, like Field of Ruin your Ink Moth. He goes and gets his island, now I'll path your guy.
Right.
You know, like I've actually affected the game, and I've, not gotten you ahead. Like, getting rid of those man lands is very important for this matchup, as well as, not putting my head when you use a path is big. But I've got 13 white, and I think that's the minimum you could really do, don't I?
You don't want to push past 13.
Yeah, like that's the lowest to have, like 2 on turn 4, like 80% of the time or something like that.
Exactly.
So, going lower than that, and like the deck mulligans a lot. Like, and that's like another reason why the Aether Vial is like, I just don't enjoy playing it. It's like, because I've won lots of games where I mulled to 5, and if you're drawing Aether Vial on a mull to 5, like, how good could your hand be?
Well, especially also in this deck, you just can't play Aether Vial because like things like Eldrazi Temple act better than an Aether Vial to
because you're actually speeding.
To ramp out turn 2 Thought Knot Seer, to activate Eldrazi Displacer. Like, Aether Vial can't enable these things.
Right, like the Aether Vial, sometimes it's nice when you could just stick your Displacer and play and then use its ability.
Sure.
Like, but then that's on the 4th turn. Like, Aether Vial doesn't speed you up unless you've got a critical mass of cards you could use with it. You know what I mean? Like, that's why humans having so many 1-drops and 2-drops is so effective with it, because they're skipping playing a guy first turn, but then second turn they're playing 2 or 3 guys.
Yeah.
Like, with this deck, like, with any version of this deck, like, it's hard to keep up that pace with an Aether Vial. You're going to find most of the time you're either going to have to wait, like, sandbag your threats to use your Aether Vial, or you're going to be coming in before the Aether Vial could, Like, if you have a Thalia, Blade Splicer, and a Resto, and you have an Aether Vial, and those are your only cards, like, how many times are you going to use that Aether Vial?
Right.
0. Like, because, you're going to play your Thalia, Blade Splicer with your mana. So, like, the average casting cost of this deck is probably something close to 3, because we've got so many 4-drops, and, so few...
Blade Splicer, Eldrazi Displacer, Flicker Wisp, Thought Knot Seer, Restoration Angel.
Yeah, it's like probably 2.8.
Pretty heavy curve.
It's probably like 2.8 or something.
Pretty heavy curve.
Whereas, like, your deck is probably like 2.1 or something. Like 2.2.
Yeah, something like that.
Right? And humans is probably 2.
Yeah.
Like average 2, maybe even 1.9 or something. Like, there's so many 1-drops, there's so few 3-drops, like, and it's all 2s. So, I mean, that's what makes it so deadly in those decks. Like, lots of games I watch, like, there's a bunch of streamers I watch for Death and Taxes, like Death and Cat Mix, Craig Wesco, Pleasant Kenobi's another dude, and like, and I watch lots of their games, and I watch, like, sometimes it's so intense, it's such a back and forth top deck mode, and then like they just top deck the Aether Vial, and I'm like, any land, any creature, any spell, not Aether Vial. Like, but I mean, like, I know it helps too. Some games it's you can't beat it. Some games, that's for sure. But when you draw 2 of them, I know you don't like it.
So it's interesting that you say your deck definitely is capitalizing your mana sources are all good, going into the late game. I guess the most dead one is just plains.
Right.
So
but you need those.
Yeah, we need them. So moving on, we've got Mutavault. How effective is Mutavault? Tell me something about Mutavault.
Mutavault's beautiful. The Mutavault, eh? It's an incredible card. It's so cheap. Like, okay, you're up against Liliana. I play a Mutavault. You're not going to be able to sack. You make me sack a creature. Like, you just lose.
Or you're going to lose the Liliana.
You're right. Against Tron, they have a lot of trouble killing Mutavaults. Like
that is true.
They they have to Karn it. Like their stones don't get it.
Yeah.
They're,
Ugin, Oblivion Stone, Karn is like really clunky waste of trying to get rid of Mutavaults. Yeah, they can't deal with Mutavault.
Right, and then and Mutavault in combination with Windbrisk Heights is like. You have to play so few creatures. You play one Blade Splicer, one Mutavault, you're activating Heights if they don't do anything.
So let's talk about Windbrisk Heights if people don't know about it. So it's a land with Hideaway. This land enters the battlefield tapped. When it does, look at the top 4 cards of your library. Exile 1 face down, then put the rest on the bottom of your library. You can tap it to add a white, and then you can pay a white, tap it. You may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost if you attack with 3 or more creatures this turn. So Mutavault activates this thing. So this is just amazing card advantage.
Yeah, like you're giving up that comes into play tapped. I have very few 1-drops though, and like even the Sentry, he doesn't need to come down turn 1. Like,
right.
So to me it's a low opportunity cost in my opinion. Like there's definitely a game like I remember against Jerry Thompson, I drew 2 of them as my only lands in one game, and I obviously should have mulled that hand, but after all those rounds your mind gets a little fuzzy, right? But so I mean it does cost me every once in a while. But like you think about that in Grand Prix Vancouver, I played 14 rounds and I went 13-3 or no,
you lost your first 2 games very early and then just ran the streets up to top 8.
So I mean like if it was that inconsistent in the deck, like I could not, like I'd have to be getting God tier luck. Like and then the thing is, okay, like I remember one game against Ad Nauseam. First turn Windbrisk Heights, second turn Mutavault, play Thalia. Mm-hmm. Third turn Eldrazi Temple, play a Thought Knot, take his Ad Nauseam, untap, activate Mutavault, attack in with the Thought Knot, the Thalia, the Mutavault, all 3 of them.
Yep. And
then play from under Windbrisk Heights a second Thought Knot's here.
Yeah.
Taking his other Ad Nauseam. And it's
and you can play it whenever you want too.
Yeah, like you can go to your end step and play it. So it actually has a Flicker Wisp effect too. Like you can actually go to your end step, cast it, and then take out their land for the next turn.
Right.
Or their threat.
So you can cast what? You can play the exile card without paying its mana cost if you attack 3 or more creatures this turn. So you can cast Flicker Wisp at your end step?
Yeah, you can go to your end step, activate the Windbrisk Heights, and it allows you to cast the Flicker Wisp for free.
It's amazing. So you play creatures with as though they had flash.
Yeah, even in a game I was playing the other night there, I attacked with 3 creatures. He had an O-Stone. I just said go, and he's like, activate my O-Stone. I'm like, okay, now I'll activate my Windbrisk Heights. Like under Blade Splicer, go.
Yeah, so you're not obligated to use it immediately. Great card.
Another great thing about it though is that it forces people to act before you attack. Like, say they got a Cryptic Command and they want to, if you have the Windbrisk Heights able, I'll declare my attack with my 3 guys. Like, they're like, oh, I don't want you to cast a free spell.
It's
so
card advantage. Then they have to deal with that.
Right, and also, too, sideboard cards. Like, I've won so many games against Thoughtseize decks where I've just put, my Rest in Peace under it. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as I can attack with 3 guys, I block with your Tarmogoyf, even better. Windbrisk Heights comes out, Rest in Peace comes out from under Windbrisk Heights. So it's very potent. It's good card advantage in a format where it's hard to get good card advantage. You're paying, if you want extra cards, you're paying for them.
You have to beat Bloodbraid Elf into Kolaghan's Command. This is the format we live in right now. Right, and
those types of decks, this deck really grinds well against those. When I won the Modern Challenge, I beat this Grixis control deck. Raid remembered yesterday too. It's we thought knotted him early. And he had double Kolaghan's Command, double Electrolyze, 2 Terminates or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's with the damnation that we took.
Yeah.
And it's we look at each other oh, this is going to be a tough game, and we ended up winning it, though. It's because it's Wall of Omens. You want to kill that?
Right.
Draw a card. Resto Angel. You're going to kill... What do you want to kill right now?
And you can't kill him with Electrolyze or Kolaghan's.
Right, and you
have to double them.
Electrolyze isn't that good against this deck. It looks like it's good, and it usually is good against decks like this, but...
It's hard. You're blinking things all over the place with Eldrazi Displacer and...
Well, and just the sheer amount of 1 toughness in the deck.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that don't
Most
die
of
to that.
them, most of them aren't.
Right, like
Most of them survives a bolt. A lot of them survive a bolt.
Right, yeah, like that's the thing. It's like we're a lot more resilient than a lot of other Death and Taxes decks, actually. Like, in my opinion, yeah. So, and then even the Chef at Dunes. Like,
Okay, so let's get to Chef at Dunes.
I've had that thing come in handy so many times too. It's like to. You know, you play Thalia into Blade Splicer into like Thought Knot, then untap, and then give all your guys +1/+1 in attack. Like, or you know, they played their Thalia's Lieutenant to make all their guys bigger, so that you know, like your golems can't get in and stuff. And it's now they're a step bigger for the turn. Like, you know, and it's if I've got 5 mana, I can sack one. Like, like that's the thing about it, and it also provides the colorless mana for the Eldrazi as well as the white for playing my spells. So
it's just a perfect card actually.
Yeah,
for this deck.
At first I wish they'd made a better card for my deck. Like at first I was like, oh, why couldn't it have been something good? And then I was like, maybe this thing is actually really good.
Yeah, maybe this thing's amazing.
You know, like
it's incredibly playable.
Yeah, and like all of a sudden now your Leonin Arbiter's like kind of a handful. Like, you know, like even Blade Splicer, it's like now he's a 2/2. He's a real body. Like as well as you know your regular creatures getting bigger.
So you've got 1, 2, 5, 9, 13 sources of colorless mana. Yeah. So. So we discussed Little Sentry, 4-Path Exile. Just
yeah, obviously it's that's best removal spell probably in Modern. It's I mean Fatal Push might be better, but this is even better because it gets anything.
And combos very well with Leon Arbiter.
Yeah, and even you know what, a lot of decks can't even use the extra land. Like you know, I don't mean to like.
Okay.
If somebody plays a second
against you, I guess.
Yeah, like against Jund, it's like. I'll just give you the land from if you play your Dark Confidant early. Like I mean, yeah, you might get an early Blood Braid, but I can recover from that. That's not that devastating of a situation, and that's the best you could do. Like, you know,
right? Leon Arbiter. How important is this? How many free wins do you get off of Leon Arbiter?
You know, it's hard to quantify. It's I definitely I remember in the Modern Challenge mulling down to 5 and we get double Arbiter Thalia hand. Okay. It's like with 2 land, and it's like we end up winning that game.
Well, I guess you know, yeah, I was thinking in terms of Ghost Quarter, but this shuts off fetch lands.
Yeah, oh yeah. Like when you're on the play, getting it out on the second turn can just win you the game sometimes.
Some percentage of free wins comes out of Leon Arbiter.
That's right. And then a lot of matchups, though, I find myself siding out all the Arbiters, all the Thalias. And you go into more of a Value Town control deck as opposed to a taxing attack deck.
Like, does it have something to do with maybe your opponent's always trying to play around these cards going into games 2 and 3?
No, it's just more the linear strategy. It's like against a deck like Humans, like Arbiter, he has 1 basic land and he searches nothing.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's bad. Against Human Thalia, like they're playing their own Thalias. If they're playing Thalias, you probably don't want Thalias in. Like it's very rare. Like you know, like and also like if you look at my sideboard, it's not many creatures. It is more spells because a lot of times either Thalia, it's worth it to keep Thalia in and side in spells, or you're siding out those Thalias.
Okay, so you're siding out the Thalias to make the spells better.
Right. So yeah, like. It's harder with Hollow One decks. I'm still trying to figure that out. Like, do you want is the Rest in Peace even good enough to bring in, or do you want to just control the board? Like, because I've died with the Rest in Peace. Like, you know, they play 2 Hollow Ones.
2 Hollow Ones.
You know, like right off the hop, or do you want to Thalia to slow down their card draw stuff? Is that enough?
And that stupid Flameblade Adept, you can't block.
Yeah, you need 2 guys. Yeah.
So, so how good is Thalia in general?
Oh, she's amazing.
What are the matchups?
It's either one of the anything combo, any basically non-creature deck. Like if creatures and attacking isn't your main strategy, Thalia is amazing against your deck. Like you know, like if I play against Merfolk, often Thalia just comes out because it just doesn't help, right? Like if you side in spells, they're going to be cheap. You know, like so she does but even in those matchups, she does sometimes incidentally help. You know, slow down your opponent in some way. Like, I mean, when you had Smuggling Copter in your... I remember dropping a second Thalia and it slowing you down enough that it had an impact on the game. But then she came out. Because, you know, you can't rely on that, right? Sure. But yeah, I would say she was probably better last season. Like, just because of all the Hollow One and all the... what's it called?
Death Shadow?
Death Shadow. Oh, no, she was better against those decks. Like, you know, now it's against Humans and Hollow One. It's not her time to shine exactly, you know? But still... she's still... Well, the field's just so diverse still. Like, in a tournament, if you play 10 rounds, you might play Humans twice and Hollow One 3 times, but then you're going to play 5 different decks, right?
How about against Control?
Oh yeah, very good. But then like they've got so much cheap removal.
Because you got 4 of them, so you're making a statement with this card.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is with the Shining Shoals, it allows you a little slickness. Like with that, like
Okay.
it you can win more games where you draw multiples and they're not useful because you have a card like Shining Shoal to make them into mana essentially.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I mean, she's still excellent. Like you still play 4. Like I mean, I used to play 2 in those original decks. You see that? Like so. I mean, she's still good enough. You still play 4 because like what you want her against, you need her against. Like she'll win you against Storm, obviously, right? Like you're in a battle of trying to increase or decrease those costs of spells. Like I'm trying to think of other matchups. Like Jund, I actually like her a lot in Jund still, even though I might even sign in some more non-creatures. It's just because first of all, she's probably going to die. The thing is that she's going to draw a deck like Jund out of position. Okay, like say I'm going first. I play Sector Thalia. He has 1 mana up. He can't not kill Thalia. He untaps.
Okay.
Often they're going to play their land and kill Thalia.
Right.
So that's going to set up me untapping and playing a Ghost Quarter and an Arbiter on him.
Okay.
Or just dropping another Thalia so he's still locked under. Like, the thing is, they're almost never going to let you untap to do that because they're just afraid you're going to flick it or something. You know, do some garbage, right?
Yeah,
Save her.
blink it or something. And you know, against Jund, it's turning some very important spells into 4 mana spells like Maelstrom, Pulse, Kolaghan's Command, Liliana the Veil, Liliana the Last Hope.
And those are all bad cards, like, at that price. Even, like, an Electrolyze. If you had a Thalia out when they cast their Electrolyze to kill the Thalia, like, you're probably in a good position. Like, they're, like, you know, it costs them so much in such a pivotal turn to do that. Like, that a lot of times... yeah, like, but then the thing is, like, cards have never been cheaper to cast as they are probably right now in Modern. So it's, you know, like,
So,
the deck she's great against because she's, like, doubling the cost of your spell. But there's a lot of decks that she's actually not hot against. I side her out often.
It's funny that you say that because, you know, I felt the same squeeze with Curse Catcher. That's why, I've lost a lot of faith in Curse Catcher.
Well, yeah, if she didn't have a good combat, like, it might be a different situation. But
Right,
2-1 first strike's actually
2-1 first strike is a good
surprisingly
rate.
relevant. It's, you know, she does work.
Okay, so Wall of Omens. This is not a card that I would expect to see in the Death and Taxes list. So what's the point of Wall of Omens?
Well, around 2013, right after the deck got posted in that article, I'd started doing more experimenting. And first of all, the deck needed more 2-drops. Like, all you really had is Thalias and Arbiters.
Yeah,
like, and
you have got 8. So
right, and that's not good
enough. 40-ish%, or I don't know what the odds are of having any number of these in your hand, but so we need more 2-drops.
So we need more 2-drops. And the thing is, like, I found that to keep Flicker Wisps and Restos, like, relevant, you needed more comes into play effects in general.
Okay.
And now the other thing is, I was playing as Liliana the Veil a lot. Wall of Omens is such a good foil for that card because, like, I just play it on turn 2 and it replaces itself. So if you play a Lily and tick her up, like, I'm already not disadvantaged.
Yeah.
And then she comes in under the sacrifice.
Yeah.
So then when I play a real, like, I could play Wall of Omens into a Thought-Knot Seer and not be afraid of Lily just coming down and ruining my day. Like, you know, like, but if that's an Arbiter, even a Thought-Knot, like, you're in such a more, you know, like, it's actually costing you. And, you know, I don't know. It just, it replaces itself. And then the later flicks, like, against a Jeskai deck, like, getting this thing out second turn, they're not going to counter it. It's very innocuous. But then at the end of their 4th turn, you put them in a situation where I'm going to play a Resto Angel. I'm going to target my wall if you let me resolve it. And if not, I'm going to untap and put a Thought-Knot Seer on you. Yep. Like, if you respond to it. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you put, like, I mean, Resto sort of puts that in that situation on its own, but it doesn't because drawing a card to replace itself is just so devastating, you know?
So, like, so this is very strong against Jund for multiple reasons.
Yeah, or even against the red decks. Oh, and Thalia is also amazing against red. I should add. Like, the burn decks have won so many games because of Thalia, actually.
Boom, so Thalia. Good luck.
Let's just add that. But yeah, like, even the walls, like, a lot of times if they play Goblin Guide, you play Wall of Omens, and they're going to use their Searing Blaze to just finish off a wall that you drew a card on. Like, I mean,
sure.
You still took damage, but you got to block it.
You got to block it.
And you you drew a card. So, like, you know, next time when you play your Blade Splicer, they can't just Searing Blaze that. Unless they're luckier, right? Like, or you come down with a Thought-Knot and, like, you take a card out of their hand and they're, like, probably just dead. Like, you know?
So here's the card that changed everything. Blade Splicer. We're at 4 Blade Splicers. How did you find this card?
You know, the Gatherer. I was just reading.
Just classic Gatherer. We need help. we got to go to Gather. What do you have, Gatherer?
Well, the thing is, like, I do a lot of research when I'm learning. Like, you know, like I said, I watch these streamers even to this day. I don't even get to play much Magic, but
okay, so you can learn off of other people's experience.
Exactly, and doing research and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And like this thread, we'll put a link to the thread in the thing where you could see history if you were interested. But like, oh, geez, I just lost my train of thought there.
You'll figure it out. Well, what about Blades?
Oh, so. But anyways, yeah, going through. So research? I've read that whole thread like once or twice, like and probably half through a second time. So it's like you know, I do my research. I read a lot of ideas and I measure a lot of things. And one of the things I do sometimes is just going through Gatherer. You know, like, hey, let's reevaluate all these creatures. You know, like
okay, see if
just
anything's
piece
different.
by piece. You know, like like maybe there's a card that seemed not good, like the Loyal Sentry, for example. Like, you know, like it's a goofy card. Like, but I'll tell you, it's actually somewhat effective. Like, there's clearly matchups where you don't want to draw it, but that Thraben Inspector is exactly the same thing. Actually, it's like sometimes he's really bad. Like, you don't have time to crack a clue, and all you've made is a 1/2 that maybe gets you a chump blocker. But some matches he doesn't even do that. Like, you know, so it's you know. It's trade-offs, you know. So like, yeah, but like looking through the list, you see this guy and you're like, man, maybe I just need this to stop ground pounders, you know, like or so yeah. Just looking through Gatherer, I've seen Blade Splicer in there, and I actually had to read him a few times to make sure he did exactly what I thought he did, because I'm like, well, how's this guy not like somebody? I actually have like 50 foil versions of Blade Splicer because I was so in love with it.
You spec on cards you believe in.
I always have, yeah. So and I have a lot of Blade Splicers because like they're like, I'm like, you guys don't see how good this guy is. Unfortunately, got that reprint now.
That's good. You got the originals.
That pipe dream will never work out.
So synergy with this card.
Yeah, like, well, back then all you had was Flicker Wisp, but even that was good enough. But the thing is, okay, like, I was losing to Affinity every game before I thought of Blade Splicers and Mutavaults, and the reason being they had that 2/2 Pro Everything guy.
Right, Etch Champion.
So it's like that Etch Champion would just ruin my day no matter how far ahead I'd get, especially in this Mangara version. Like, I'd get him down to no permanence but the Etch Champion. And I just couldn't, you know, like, or not no permanence, I guess, because he still has Metal Crap. But you know what I mean? Like, he'd have nothing else relevant going on. I'm Mangaring away slowly and just die anyways to 2 points a turn, or heaven forbid a cranial plating on that guy, and it's just over in one turn. So but by adding all these colorless creatures in, like this is before Eldrazi came out, I was able to shore up the match from like 100% loss, 99% loss to like I win like probably 75-80% of the time.
Yeah, we look at this. So we also should remind everyone that Mutavault is a golem. So it also gets
the first strike. So yeah, even against like the big Eldrazi decks, like if you have a Blade Splicer out with a Thalia even, like your Reality Smasher can't attack me.
Right.
Like you get like, and that's just on my third turn. So you would have had to double cheat him out going first to even hit me once with them. Like, you know, like and also with the Mutavaults with the Blade Splicers, like so many, like I've gotten a lot of people on golems have first strike, bro. Yeah, you know, like
it's a golem.
It's a golem, man. You know, so many times like people throwing their guy into block, like Snapcaster Mage, block it. It's like, yeah, well, first strike will just take care of that, you know. And
going back to Affinity, you must have like you have a great matchup. So you have flyers. For blockers, you have colorless creatures that gum up the ground.
The Selfless Spirits were actually very helpful too, because it was another 2-drop flyer that just came out so fast it could just trade with one of their flyers.
And at least trade with one of their flyers.
Right, and also the Shining Shoals with more flyers is good too in that matchup, because like block your one flyer, kill your other is like a pretty sweet situation.
So maybe we should go to Shining Shoal. So how the hell did this happen? Because I mean, it was a huge. So if anyone wants to know, I have like a completely losing record against Jason. It's probably 0-4, 0-5. But one day he like pulls out Shining Shoal.
It was actually the first time I tried it in a tournament. I played John in the third round, I think, or something.
Something like that.
And that's when I decided. Like I had 2 in the board. We added them because Infect's a hard matchup. Okay, and like I used to play Harm's Way, and they sort of helped.
Yeah,
but you just gotta keep all your manas untapped all the time. Like, that's not a good situation to be in. So Ray, the card ripper, actually recommended. He's like, "What about Shining Shoal, man? You think like maybe because like you know what, you got a resto in your hand against Infect. Like you're never gonna cast that. Like 40 cast, you know."
So if anyone doesn't know, Shining Shoal says you may exile a white card with converted mana cost X from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. The next X damage that a source of your choice would deal to you and or creatures you control this turn is dealt to any target instead. So I know this has tons of little dinky applications. So let's talk let's talk creatures. How does this interact with creatures?
Okay, well, let's go with the story from our tournament there.
So how I first learned about this card.
You were on the play.
Yeah.
You played a second turn Silvergill Adept.
Sure.
I play a Leonin Arbiter, say go. You untap, play a Marrow Reejerey, attack in for 3. I block with my Arbiter, Shining Shoal pitching some useless card to redirect the damage from your guy to your Reejerey.
To my Reejerey.
So your guy takes 2, your Reejerey takes 2 or 3 or whatever it was, and my guy lived.
Yeah, so Leon Arbiter only took 1 damage from
the Curse Catcher.
The Silvergill Adept. My Marrow Reejerey took 2 damage from my Silvergill Adept because he redirected it with Shining Shoal. So I lost 2 cards.
I lost 2 cards.
He lost 2 cards, but I had no board presence, and I already spent my turn. So he was untapping with a permanent on the board.
Right, and I also had and I untapped and played a Blade Splicer.
Yeah, so I was super far behind, and board presence is really important against Death and Taxes. So yeah, that was a huge blowout, and then from there, I don't even.
That's when I was like, "Great, we gotta just put these in the main deck."
How and when do I attack?
Yeah, that was that's where it was like, man, I'm citing these things in almost every match. Like, you know, two seems smart in the main deck. Like even against a burn guy, he ended up like getting me down to 1, and then his final burn, he tries to kill me, and it's like a Shining Shoal back to him.
Shining Shoal. Yeah, and you don't like so when you can use it when you tap out. By exiling a card, but you don't even need to exile the card. You can just pay it for the 2 white effects colorless.
Actually, in Grand Prix Toronto, I played that 5-color Death Shadow guy I killed with no cards. One game. The other game, I beat him. The first game, he ended up just attacking. He played a Death Shadow. He thought seized the heck out of me. I had nothing. He plays a Death Shadow. He plays another Death Shadow. He puts himself down to 3 and attacks, and it was like I just tapped 5 mana on my last turn to live and redirect 3 of it to him. And I survive, and he died. And he's like, it's the only card I think I played. I think I played 1 flyer at the end of the turn.
Right.
Like a Resto, maybe I put him down 3. He was at 6, maybe. Yeah, I Resto at the end of the turn, hit him for 3, and then untap. When he attacked me, I just redirected the damage to him. He's like, reads the Shining Shoal, reads it again.
And it's like any number of targets instead. So
no, you can only target one thing with it, but it's damage from any number of targets. Like one source. Okay, say they play Anger of the Gods. If you're Shining Shoaling for 3, you could do 1, 1, and 1. Like to multiple creatures. You know? Like say Anger of the Gods is going to deal 3 to Arbiter, Blade Splicer token, and a Blade Splicer. I could pitch my Resto and redirect 2 from each of this to you.
Okay, so you can therefore you save 1 damage on say we have 3 Eldrazi Displacers in play.
Yeah, and
they play Anger the Gods. You play Shining Shoal.
Pitching a Blade Splicer,
Blade Splicer, and you save 1 damage from each of these Eldrazi Displacers in play.
And redirect it to any target.
To just 1 target.
Yeah.
So you can like shoot their creature or their face with it.
And now you can even target Planeswalkers under the new rules with it.
Yeah, under the new rules, it's any target instead. You said it's bugged online
right now? Right now, though, be wary. I think it's bugged because I tried to redirect... Like, I was allowed to target Liliana with it when he attacked me, and it didn't take any damage.
Okay, so we'll wait for that to be fixed, but this is still a very powerful, versatile card.
Another bug, actually, too, on online so far seems to be Windbrisk Heights. You cannot play lands from it online. In real life, you're allowed to.
Okay, yeah.
If for some reason it won't allow you.
Play the exile card without... So you're handicapped with this deck right now, but still very powerful.
Yeah, I guess so, eh?
Okay, so moving on... Well, is there anything else we can say about Shining Shoal? We talked about sorceries. We talked about creatures.
Well, there's a good story with it that people enjoy. Is when I played in Vancouver, I had Darkar Wastes in my deck.
So
I came up against Ponza, and first turn he plays his elf, and I untap. I use a Shining Shoal, pitch it, target my Darkar Wastes as a source, and I choose his.
Oh, it's a source of your choice.
And I target his elf, and I killed his elf.
Usually these things say your opponent's sources, but this is any source, or even your own source.
That's
you take damage from your own Darkar Wastes.
I killed his elf, and then I was able to play Thalia before he could Stone Rain me. And ended up winning the match.
Oh, the tech.
Yeah, people like that one. So it's a very, very surprisingly versatile card. I gave up that to have the Sheffet Dunes. Which is like, it seems like to have a bad gut shot versus having a sometimes Anthem. Mm-hmm. You know, I've opted for the Anthem. And I've won...
Yeah, the Anthem is great.
I've won quite a few games. Like, when you make your Thought Knot into a 5-5, like, you know, or... You know,
close out games, sure.
Yeah.
So, Eldrazi Displacer?
Yeah, just takes over the game, gets you the value. Oh, we'll go to the sideboard maybe. I think we've discussed most
Well,
of the.
well, we'll go through the last three
Okay,
creatures.
sorry,
so
sorry.
Flicker Wisp. This used to be 4 of. Now it's a 2 of.
Yeah, well, I only have 13 white sources, so I that's really what the concession's about. I've been tinkering with the idea of going up to a third one, maybe over a Thought Knot, but
And you're not playing Vile, so
Right, so there's no
actually,
cheating it.
You actually
Yeah.
need to cast this thing.
we earn our Flicker Wisps around here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just it's versatile. Like I love it for like getting rid of an ensnaring bridge or
Sure. Yeah.
taking out a blocker. The interaction with the Windbrisk Heights is awesome, where you could take out their land or their creature for their next turn.
Oh, and you can reset Windbrisk Heights, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Another advantage. I haven't done that one too often, but
Probably because you have better targets usually.
Usually, yeah. But yeah, it definitely can, and you could even sometimes just do your own land, and sometimes
Yeah,
path,
reset it.
like so, or a Ghost Quarter. So
Mhm.
it's I wouldn't take him out, even though sometimes like some matchups he's not that good, like and he's a 1 toughness, like not having too many 1 toughness is a big philosophy of mine. Like, and yeah, I've won lots of, like in Grand Prix Vancouver, I faced so many people who had a lot of 1 toughness pick on cards.
Sure.
Like the 03 dude.
Even you were picking on them.
Yeah, that's right. The 03 human that you poke things. What's his name? The red blue guy. I faced a couple of those.
Is it Statocast?
Yeah, I faced a couple of those.
Right.
To make my winning in, I had a Knight of Souls Betrayal played
Yeah.
on me against Ryan Hare.
Yeah.
And like just things like that. And if I hadn't been so stringent on how many 1 toughness creatures I allow, like I don't think I would have won that consistently. Like
Right.
maybe I would have pulled out some of those games, but it's just a philosophy. You got to think about how many cards you have that just have that 1 toughness. Although I'd say it's not as big of a consideration these days. There's not as much pick on that because the creatures are 4/4s
they're getting
and
big.
8/8s and stuff.
They're getting big and they're getting stupid.
That's right.
So, Thought Knots here. What's the reason for the Eldrazi in the deck in general? So I see a lot of synergy with like Eldrazi Displacer. How does Thought Knots here help you?
Well, our taxing plan isn't that strong. So it's like this guy helps clear out the Deadwood, like and also too just removal or mass removal in particular, just being able to stop those cards, and getting the information. Like you get
information is super important in Modern.
And
Why Probe is banned.
You can sometimes lock them up with the Displacer Thought Knot against the sorcery speed style decks, but that's very rare. Like I almost against any deck like Grixis, anything where they're going to be able to kill the Thought Knot, I never blink it. You just leave it alone. It's better than not to, because like them drawing cards with the ability on the stack and killing it and stuff is.
So what decks is this interaction good where you blink the Thought
Like
Knot at draw step?
Tron, I'd say.
Okay.
Because did you draw your Karn?
Did you draw your Karn? Oh, you have a map up.
What other ones? That's like really the biggest one where they play that slow. Like, because even against blue-white control, I wouldn't do it. Like they just draw a path. Like you're so far behind. Like, in fact, I was thinking about getting rid of the Thought Knots, but then I tried a few games without them, and
no, you missed.
Yeah, just like I said, getting that information, getting out the top end, like because. And also, like, a lot of your guys draw out their tapping. Like, people will kill an Arbiter or a Thalia even if it's only going to minorly annoy them. Like, they don't... I find a lot of people don't... Like, is this card deadly to me? Like, can I afford to pay Thalia every turn? Like, they don't think like that. They're like, okay, Fatal Push your Thalia. Like, it happens a lot. Like, where it's like, dude, you didn't even have another non-creature spell this game. Like,
So I guess it didn't matter. Yeah, they could have just curved out and then waited to play it way down along the road.
That's right. And, like, Arbiter's the same thing, but, I mean, that makes a little more sense because they don't want to just get gotted with the Ghost Quarters, right? So, but a lot of times people are just tapping out on their own turn to do that. So if you play a Thalia, they tap out to kill, then you untap, play Thought Knot off an Eldrazi Temple, like, you're probably just winning that game. Like,
and they probably don't even see it coming.
Right. Well, yeah, like...
Plains, Mutable, Eldrazi Temple, Thought Knots here.
It was pretty funny, the second Modern tournament I did well at. Like, people... like starting to know the deck because like I did good in the one. Sure. And just like, oh, I'm up against this
your
deck.
Your name is getting thrown around there in
probably not the name, but just seeing the lands, right? Like
the modern Reddit
Windbrisk Heights Wall of Omens. Wait, oh no, I'm up against this deck. the Windbrisk Heights Wall deck.
So, and it's just a huge creature.
Yeah, it's got a good body, He trades with a lot of stuff, and also like a lot of times, like with the Shining Shoal, like he kills anything, like and probably lives, like.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Restoration Angel.
She's the boss. Like this is when I decided to drop the Aether Vials for sure. It was when she came out. It was because I was like Thought Knot wasn't even a glimmer. I don't even know if it was designed yet. But when Resto came out, it was like, man, I need to be getting 4 mana and I need to be paying 4 mana to play this thing because it's just such a insanely good card. I've called it the white cryptic command because of just how much it can affect the board and like the ability to do it at instant speed. Like during your upkeep, do it at the end of your turn in response to the like saving creatures. Like inexperienced players playing the deck will try to kill your creature when you have Resto mana up. Yep. You can re-blink your Arbiter to be able to retax as well.
Sure.
Which is another interaction that
So explain that interaction.
Well, they have priority. They have to pay for Arbiter.
Yeah.
So they'll pay the 2, then they'll do something to search their deck. In response, you can blink him, and he's a new Arbiter.
Oh,
that they got to pay again.
They have to pay again.
Yeah. So that's another.
So they pay 2, and then what happens? They fetch.
Well, they tree out. Then they'll stack something. They'll put something on the stack to search.
Okay, to search, and then that's when you Restoration Angel.
Yeah.
And then at that point they have to pay 2 again.
Yeah, it's a new Arbiter. Yeah.
Or is it too late? But they still have the option to pay.
They
2?
still have the option. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but like a lot of times, who has 4 extra mana to go get a land?
Yeah, who has 4 extra mana? So Restoration Angel also combos great with Loyal Sentry.
Yeah, but it uses the stack.
Yeah.
Like I think this is our modern Mangara, sadly.
It looks like it.
I mean, when they play their Champion of the Parish, we'll see who's laughing. You laugh at me at first, but then how are you gonna get through?
Yeah, that's right. So with the trigger on the stack, you blink it, their creature dies. Yours lives. They still have to deal with the Loyal Sentry.
That's right.
Loyal to us.
So I mean, I was surprised at how actually decent it was in the Jund matchup. Because Liliana of the Last Hope, is that the newer one?
Yeah.
She's not as prevalent as she was. Before, I was part of going on Thraben's versus Selfless Spirits was that Dan Lily.
I hate that card.
That's so nasty, So
right now only picks off Thalia and Flicker Wisp.
And
I guess Blade Splicer.
and the 2 sentries. But
So
I would side out the sentries if I knew they had the Last Hope, but I would actually side in sentries if I didn't think they did. Because if they can't pick on the 1/1s, they can't get through. They don't have any flying creatures in Jund.
Yeah.
All they have is their Tarmogoyfs and Ground Pounders. And
a big creature, so dodges Bolt, Collective Brutality, Kolaghan's Command, and they need Revolt if they want to Fatal Push it. And even then, you couldn't Displacer it.
Yeah. You have. Unfortunately, you can't Resto. They're smart about that.
You can't Resto. You can't displace a Displacer.
Right.
Not your own Displacer.
And you can't Resto a Mutavault. Don't forget that, guys.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. Yeah, Mutavault is an angel.
Ain't it though?
Yeah, but it blinks everything else. So you draw cards off Wall Omens. You make more golems. You can get. Well, I don't know. So I guess you can do this at the end step. At end of step, Flicker Wisp.
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk about that for anyone who's getting into Death and Taxes. How do you use Flicker Wisp?
Well, if you can only cast it during your main phase, then it will just be the flying 3/3/1 that it is. It'll remove a permanent and return at the beginning of the next end step.
Right.
Now, if you're able to do it after the beginning of your end step, so just during your end step.
So these permanents come back at the beginning of the next end step.
So if you can get to that phase and say activate a Windbrisk Heights to cast a Flicker Wisp, you're able to remove the permanent, and it will not return until the beginning of the next end step. So the beginning of their end step.
You have to wait till their next turn.
So I mean, if you take their land, against a deck like Tron, it's great to take one of the Tron pieces, say go, and it's because all they could do is just sit there and then wait till their end step to get their land back and do nothing until their next turn.
And you can repeat the process with Restoration Angel at the end step.
Yeah, that's right.
And Eldrazi Displacer at the end step.
Right.
So you could double blink this thing, take 2 lands, for example.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So that's something you want to look forward to. That at the end step, do this thing, and then they lose their permanence till the very next end step.
There's not that many cards that do that, and they all seem to be white. There was an old Necromancy card that did that as well, but they've even errated that. So it's not an ability they seem to really like. I don't know why they.
Well, this is weird, at the beginning of the next end step should be the end.
Well, the thing is, though, that...
The end step should be the end.
The end step should be the end. The thing is, it used to be even worded way worse than that. It says, return it during their end step.
Oh, wow.
So it was how would you even have an intuitive understanding that it might work like that?
Right.
At least this, now they've added that at the beginning, so it makes it so that, it actually makes some sense.
Excellent. All right, so anything else with Restoration Angel?
She's just really, really good. She's play her as soon as you can, almost.
I guess so.
She just try to hit a wall or a Blade Splicer.
Makes combat method really complicated.
Yeah.
for the opponent.
That's right. Yeah, especially with like a Flicker Wisp, where you're able
Yeah.
to like take out another creature as well as block
Yeah.
two creatures when it had attacked. Even
Absolutely.
like it sets up some just miraculous board states. Like, and they with all the value creatures, it's just she's the rock of the deck. Really, I don't think it would be the deck it is without those restos.
Okay, so loyal. Let's go to the sideboard. We've got 2 more loyal sentries.
Right. So this is just concession to the fast ground beats that are Hollow One and humans. You know, they're just so big and they're so mostly on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously humans has their couple flyers there. The 3/3 guy in particular who.
You have flyers too.
Yeah, so exactly. Like so that makes it so that. But I don't have huge creatures. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have flyers, but I don't have
I guess
10/10s.
they do get big.
So yeah, like he's able to just take it out no matter how big it is, and you know, I think they'll laugh at me a little when they see it. Like you guys might be even laughing right now, but I'll point out that I'm just getting into this new season with his new decks.
Oh, Modern got shooken up big time for the last few months.
Well, it's amazing how it's actually
super new archetypes.
Every 3 months or 4 months, it seems to like the environment in those Modern challenges was very different than Vancouver.
Yeah,
like it was incredibly different, and then now it's like incredibly different again. So, and that's even without bannings. Like it's just the way it's evolving. So
that's right.
So yeah, this is a concession to those big creature decks. I wouldn't bring it in against the Valakut Primeval Titan deck, but other combo Primeval Titan decks I would.
The Amulet?
Yeah, the Amulet one for sure. Like, because I think, I don't know, they might have troubles just getting through it, you know? Mm-hmm. Even red, you know, you could side out maybe some of your 3-drops that aren't that good just to have more guys that stop a Goblin guy.
Yeah.
Just dirt cheap, you know? Like, yeah, I think he's just got a place for the deck, sadly.
That's a very interesting good card, and you know what? It synergizes with the deck, with all your blinking effects.
Yeah, so we'll see. It'll be funny if we get some people with it. I think we'll be laughing.
I think we're going to get some people with it.
Okay, so this is also for these Hollow One stuff. Like,
Declaration in Stone. So this is a standard staple if people don't know. Sorcery, exile target creature and all other creatures its controller controls with the same name as that creature. That player investigates for each non-token creature exiled this way. So it's Detention Sphere for 2, but they get clue tokens.
Yeah, so you know what? That's not the worst thing, you know? Like, those decks, if they're taking time off to draw cards, they're not doing god-awful broken things. And you know what? Like, it's the broken things that we're worried about, not incremental advantage.
Yeah,
like,
you can grind out
yeah.
card advantage, I guess. You don't even care.
Yeah, like if you're going Blade Splicer into a Resto Angel, like you don't care about them getting some card advantage. Like you just care about 3/4/4s on turn 1 that you just cannot kill. That's so stupid, man. You know what? I love Modern, but I hate to say it, it's a little degenerate right now. You know, like it's everyone's going so fast down their road that it's like, geez, it's not as fun as it was before when people were Death Shadowing you and. You know, like,
it was a bit slower.
It was a bit. Who thought though? Eh? Who would have thought we'd be saying that? It's a
it
bit
goes
slower
fast.
than
It goes slow. It goes fast. You know, they banned. It was slow with Splinter Twin. They banned Splinter Twin. Then Infect was really fast, made everything super fast. And there was also the Death Shadow deck. But the old Death Shadow, the Death Shadow aggro.
Mm-hmm.
And then they banned Gitaxian Probe. Okay, goodbye, Infect. And then Grixis Death Shadow comes out. Format gets slow. Somehow they unbanned Jason Bloodbraid Elf. Now format gets really fast.
Right.
So this is just a concession to the really early.
Yeah, well, and especially the multiples. Like if the guy's gonna play 3 Hollow Ones, you need something that can deal with 3 creatures.
Yeah. I guess they can't even make use of Declaration in Stone at all. Like they can't be tapping out to crack clues.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. You know, like this is experimental at this point. I haven't had. I played yesterday for the first time in a while and. Oh, it was a little rough. I'm a little rusty. Making some mistakes. Like, I'll play the temple before I need it, then they kill it, and you're like, okay, God, I needed that temple.
We'll figure
Stuff
it out.
like that, you know. But, okay. So, yeah, Deck and Stone, it's mostly just for those fast decks. And I'm not even sure 3's right, but very recently in a Modern Challenge, there was 2 dudes who made top 10. One made the top 8, one made 10th place. One was playing like an Eldrazi in taxes, like more extreme, like it had
black white
Thought Knots. No, mono white with Thought Knots and Reality Smashers.
Okay,
but with Arbiters, like I think white
high end
and Staxes. I think Death and Staxes is what it's called.
It's interesting
because it's anyway. But he had 2 of those in his board, Deck and Stone, and then there was a deck. The guy who got 10th was a lot more like my deck with the Wall of Omens and the 1/2s, Thrabins, but he had Aether Vial still and stuff like that, but he also had 2 Deck and Stones in his sideboard, so For them to do that good that recently suggests to me that that's actually helping too. Like,
Okay.
You need to be able to kill 3 hollow ones on turn 1. I don't know. I
Gotta
never
kill
thought
those
I'd say
hollow
that, but you need to.
So we got Disenchant.
Gotta be able to kill ensnaring bridges.
Good since Alpha.
Yeah, good since Alpha. I wish they'd give us a creature that did it, like even a 1/1 for 2.
What we have here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is... Well, I guess I can't deal with multiple...
Well, why can't I have a Reclamation
Look at
Sage?
this.
Yeah.
Well, you can have a Reclamation Sage with Splash Green instead of this guy.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I mean? Like, white... If
this
I have
is
an
a white
instance
thing.
I could destroy that, why can't I have some crappy creature that does it? That's all I'm saying.
Gotcha.
But
gotcha.
the only one you have is the Relic Warder, which I hate that guy. Like, he can be okay, don't get me wrong. He does do some work, but he's just frat. He's a little egg, you know? It just
Okay.
He gets cracked and his yolk's gone. Like, there's nothing to him.
So this is only for Bridge?
Well, bridges are important. It's good against Affinity.
Okay, so we'll bring it
and
in.
Boggles. Like, I need to have
yeah.
some stuff for that, too. So yeah, it's just a versatile. Like I wish it was a better card, but there's no like.
There's nothing better to replace that.
Oh, and in KCI Ironworks, it's good for too, right?
Oh, yeah.
You could go with the 1 white one, destroy things that are cheap. What's it called?
Right.
Just fragmentize or something.
Yeah, it's convert mana cost 3 or less.
Yeah, but I mean, then you can't get things like KCI.
Yeah, you
or,
can't hit Krark, Clan, Ironworks.
And just instance nice too. So I don't know. I haven't sided in that many times since I put it in, and I kind of wish it was something better. But I think it's what we need to
You gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
We got Rest in Peace, just a classic white staple.
Yeah,
You're
and we might be going back up to 4 of those. I'm still mulling it because it's just so good against what it's good against. It's just unfortunately the Hollow One deck attacks you on 2 different axes.
Yeah,
it uses the graveyard effectively and fairly deadly, but it's even deadlier at just dropping a bunch of threats actually on the ground.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you beat their Gurmag Angler to getting it down and they don't have much going on yet, it can be good. But I mean, I played it second turn and then just got Goblin Lord triple hollow one yesterday. So it's like, is this card good enough?
Yeah, does it do what? Does it do what it needs to do?
But I mean, like against KCI, right? Like how would you like to have that?
Their whole deck revolves around the graveyard.
Turbo Devoted Druid decks it's actually fairly effective against. It's not a game over again, so it's a little little shaky, but I don't know. It's a staple. Mardu Pyromancer is very good against.
Oh yeah, it will be incredibly good against Mardu Pyromancer.
It used to be incredibly good against Jund, but I actually find it to be now that they're more on the Bloodbraid plan.
Okay.
Not using they used to have Tarmogoyfs, they used to have Grimflares, they used to have multiples of things. And, Scavenging Oozes. A lot of stuff, and now I don't know if they have that much.
It's just a few Scavenging Oozes, all the Tarmogoyfs.
Yeah, it's like Abzan I'd still side it in, because they got the Lingering Souls.
Okay,
and,
Gotcha.
that sort of thing.
Oh, what do we have here? Keeping people in check.
I'm trying to. I went up to 3 for the last one I played in, but I'm not sure if that's right. I mean, it's good, but it doesn't win you the game necessarily, especially against a good, even Affinity, right? Like, if the guy's good at Affinity, that's not going to be game over. Like, you got to have a good hand as well as Stony Silence, not just Stony Silence I win.
So Stony Silence is not the be all end all.
And then against Tron, I find that they side in a lot of artifact. Like, they side in 4 claims. So it's
Nature's Claim.
So is Stony Silence I'm even wondering if it's even that smart to side in, or should I just keep my threats up?
Add more Rest in Peace.
I mean, obviously, I have won lots of games where I've gotten them I played it and then they drew a bunch of stars and stuff
Right.
But there's lots of
Relics
games where
and stuff. They probably side out Relic against you.
Right, yeah, they do, I'm sure. But, and then we rounded out with a Banishing Light and an O-Ring.
So this is to play around...
Well,
it's the same effect, but I guess it's just important to diversify it.
Yeah, so you just don't get smoked by, a Maelstrom Pulse or,
Echoing Truth.
And even Meddling Mage, they don't see 2 O-Rings in your hand.
So diversifying the numbers is just important for niche situations, but, tight deck building. So, it's a clunky removal spell, white and 2 colorless. When it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until Banishing Light leaves the battlefield, and Oblivion Ring is effectively the same thing. Is there anything different?
You can do your own permanents with a O-Ring.
Okay, so...
Banishing Light's only an opponent. Oh, and you have to...
Does that ever help you?
Well, it could actually hurt you.
Okay, so this could be a liability if they have no permanents in play.
Yeah, or if they sack the guy in response, you have to O-Ring your own stuff.
So is it worth it?
Yeah,
have
I think
to?
just the diversification. People almost never kill those things.
I guess
They're-
I could. You know what? I think it's very important against humans because they do have meddling mage. If they see your hand and they take something with say
The freebooter?
yeah, the freebooter, then they might
leave
meddling
you
mage.
both, and leave you both O-rings, take something else, and then
Oh yeah, then meddling
mage
mage.
them
Yeah,
both out.
that's right. That's right.
That's
okay.
savage.
Yeah,
I
that'd
can't
be
believe
terrible.
that combo. that
Yeah, that's
humans deck is nuts.
That's why it's on top right now. So we have to tear it down. So maybe before we end this, who do you think this deck is for?
Well, if you like a challenge, you want to play a strong deck, but not something that people are fully used to. Like I get a lot of satisfaction out of like people making like mistakes against
It's
me.
just-
you know, like you know what I'm
this
like.
deck
eh?
capitalizes on blunders big
It
time.
does, you know, and like you got to play a tight game, but it's a scrappy deck, and if you know it well, like you can win a lot of games with it. You know, like you know, I might have gotten lucky in some of those modern challenges, Vancouver, but
Oh,
I mean,
you
you can
have
only
to
get
get
so
lucky.
lucky. It's
Yeah.
you know, like
But you know, as you see, you can get results. You could like this is a deck that can win a tournament.
That's right, and like you know, and I'm not saying don't play Aether Vials if it suits your style and you're finding you're doing good with Aether Vials, like you by all means play them. Like I'm just a Death and Tax guy. I watch people playing Aether Vials lots too. Like
Yeah.
people think I'm against it. It's actually funny, right? Where it's like, no, I've just found for myself, I don't like them as much. Like you know, maybe it's even the way I play them. Maybe I'm not patient enough with my creatures to deploy them with
Maybe.
Aether Vial for advantage. Like you know, maybe Wesco or somebody like that is able to, you know, get edges with it that I just don't even see. Like, cause
Right.
I'm a guy that's like, oh, I'll just shut off my Arbiter and go score your land. Like, I find it to be a tap out deck. Like, you're, you know, each turn you're basically tapping all your mana and deploying some sort of threat, and it's in some sort of mana curve.
Mm-hmm.
So as you'll see as we go through some games, you know.
Absolutely. So how difficult? What's the difficulty level of this deck? Do you think?
I'd say that to go 50-50 with it would probably be not that high of a skill ceiling.
Okay.
But like to get 4 O's, 5 O's, like you're gonna have to really know what's going on.
Okay.
Especially
so
because
you're gonna need experience.
yeah, like well, because like I'll even tell you like when if I were to make a sideboard guide, it would not be that good. Like because a lot of times in a game, I will think like, no, I got to just do this game, or you know like
Okay. So you have to deviate.
yeah, like yeah, you got to know what
Why?
you're doing. Like you know, sometimes you'll bring in unorthodox cards or you'll remove cards because you're just like this just isn't helping me right now. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, it's hard to
This guy's
explain.
deck. I
Yeah.
get it.
So
You gotta do what you gotta do.
right, so it's not like I could say, oh, on this you always do this. Like there are some like that, like against Affinity. I always take out my Arbiters, I always take out my Thalias. So I always bring in the removal suite,
Yeah.
you know, that fits that. So I mean, like there are ones where it's pretty much set in stone and I'm not going to deviate. But I mean, like against humans even, I still don't know what I'm doing exactly. Like, you know, I've only played like so many matches against it. Like
Right,
I've
right.
won some, I've won more than I actually probably should have. Like in the Modern Challenge, I beat it in the finals to win.
Okay.
And like, you know, went to 3 games. They were all like very close. I won one game where they attacked with everything, left me at 1. You know,
Okay.
like it was a scrape bloody battle. But yeah,
Anyway, thank you very much for
Yeah, thank you.
the deck tech. And if you want to see more Death and Taxes, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. This has been Nikachu and Jason the Splicer Simard with this great deck tech for Death and Taxes.